There is a version of you that has been running quietly in the background your entire life, making decisions before you know you've made them, shaping what you feel before you feel it. Tonight, we're going to find it. Welcome to Get Sleepy Science. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying in the half-dark, thoughts still drifting from the day, allow yourself this moment of stillness. Right now, beneath your awareness, something ancient and deeply intelligent is already at work. We'll cross the threshold of 100 subconscious mind, facts about reprogramming and sleep, from the hidden architecture of belief to the chemistry of change, to the quiet miracle of who you are becoming. These quiet journeys into the sleeping mind create a community of curious, peaceful explorers. A gentle like, subscribe, or share helps other restless souls discover this space and brings us closer to protecting it, one sleepy soul at a time. Your presence here means more than you know. Settle deeper into your pillows now. Let your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench, your breathing slow. You don't need to hold on to any of this. Just notice that warm, drowsy heaviness beginning to move through you, like a signal your body already knows, quietly telling every part of you that it is safe to let go. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're resting where the mind turns inward and the noise of the day finally fades. Let your mind dissolve with what it no longer needs to control. And now we begin. The subconscious mind is not a mystery. It is a system. Neuroscientists define it as the collection of mental processes that operate below conscious awareness, influencing thought, emotion, behavior, and even physical function, without requiring your deliberate attention. Research suggests that somewhere between 90 and 95% of all cognitive activity takes place beneath the level you're aware of right now. The 5 to 10% you use consciously is only the surface. Everything else, your habits, your automatic reactions, your deeply held beliefs about yourself and the world, lives in that vast, quiet space below. Understanding it is the first step toward changing it. The term subconscious has been used in psychology since the late 19th century, but neuroscience has only recently given it precise biological meaning. Today, researchers describe subconscious processing as the activity of brain networks that run efficiently without drawing on the prefrontal cortex, the region associated with deliberate, effortful thinking. When you drive a familiar route, recognize a friend's face, or feel a sense of unease without knowing why, that is subconscious processing at work. It is faster, more energy efficient, and in many ways more influential than conscious thought. It is the brain's default mode, the setting it returns to whenever conscious attention releases its grip. One of the most consistent findings in modern neuroscience is that the brain begins preparing a decision before you become aware of making it. Studies have shown that neural activity linked to a simple choice begins seconds before a person feels they have made it. What this means for free will is still debated, but what it suggests about the subconscious is clear. A great deal of the decision-forming process begins somewhere below the surface of awareness. What feels like a spontaneous choice is often the final step of a process that began far beneath your notice. And if decisions begin below the surface, that is also where real change must begin. The subconscious mind is sometimes described as a pattern recognition engine. Its primary function is to identify recurring structures in experience and respond to them automatically. This was essential for survival. Early humans, who could recognize the pattern of a predator without having to consciously analyze every detail, had a significant advantage. The brain built shortcuts, neural pathways that fire instantly when familiar patterns appear. Those shortcuts are habits. Some are helpful, some are outdated, and some were formed so early in life that we no longer remember learning them, but all of them can, under the right conditions, be gently rewritten. Neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, is the scientific foundation of subconscious change. For most of the 20th century, scientists believed the adult brain was largely fixed. That view has been overturned. Research now confirms that the brain retains its capacity for structural change throughout life. New experiences, repeated thoughts, and deliberate practice all reshape neural architecture. Neurons that fire together wire together. As the saying goes, this means that what you repeatedly expose your mind to, especially during states of heightened receptivity, physically changes the structure of your brain over time. The hippocampus plays a central role in translating new experiences into lasting memory, and therefore into lasting change. Located deep in the temporal lobe of each hemisphere, the hippocampus acts as a relay station, deciding which experiences are significant enough to be encoded into long-term storage. Sleep is when much of this encoding happens. During the night, the hippocampus replays the day's experiences and transfers information to the cortex for more permanent storage. This process is not passive. It is active, selective, and deeply connected to emotion. The stronger the emotional resonance of an experience, the more likely it is to be retained and integrated. There is a concept in psychology called implicit memory. Memories that influence behavior without conscious recall. You may not remember learning to feel unsettled in certain spaces, or to reach for comfort when you feel lonely, or to hesitate before certain kinds of situations. But if you do these things automatically, the pattern lives in implicit memory, unlike explicit memory, which you can consciously access and reflect on. Implicit memory operates quietly. It does not announce itself. It simply shapes what you do, gently revising these implicit patterns, not through force, but through consistent, patient repetition, is much of what subconscious change involves. The amygdala is the brain's primary emotional processing center and one of the most influential structures in subconscious behavior. It evaluates incoming information for emotional significance, particularly perceived threat, and triggers responses faster than the conscious mind can process. This speed is useful in genuine emergencies, but the amygdala does not easily distinguish between a physical threat and an emotional one. A critical comment and a moment of real physical peril can activate similar alarm responses. When old fears, old rejections, or old losses are stored as emotional memories in the amygdala, they continue to shape behavior long after the original experience has passed. The prefrontal cortex, the region associated with rational thought, planning, and self-regulation, and the amygdala are in constant dialogue. Under calm conditions, the prefrontal cortex can regulate the amygdala's responses, allowing for measured, thoughtful behavior. Under stress, that regulation quiets and the amygdala's influence grows. This is why thinking clearly feels harder when you are unsettled or overwhelmed. It also helps explain why conscious effort alone, willpower, reasoning, tends not to reach as deeply as we might hope. The deeper patterns live in structures that respond better to slower, quieter, more repetitive forms of influence than to logic alone. So yes, the science already suggests that reprogramming the subconscious mind is not only possible, it is happening constantly. Every repeated experience reshapes neural pathways. Every emotional memory updates the brain's model of the world. Every night of sleep consolidates what the day has offered. The question is not whether your subconscious can be changed. It is whether that change is happening by accident or by intention. Understanding this is the first turning point in our journey tonight. The mind is not fixed. It is fluid, and the hours of sleep ahead of you are among the most powerful opportunities for that fluidity to work in your favor. Brainwaves are electrical patterns produced by the synchronized activity of neurons. Different states of consciousness, waking, relaxing, sleeping, dreaming, are associated with different brainwave frequencies. These frequencies are measured in hertz and fall into distinct bands. Beta waves, between roughly 14 and 30 hertz, dominate when you are alert and actively thinking. Alpha waves, between 8 and 13 hertz, appear when you are relaxed but awake. Theta waves, between 4 and 7 hertz, are associated with deep relaxation, drowsiness, and the hypnagogic state just before sleep. Delta waves, below 4 hertz, characterize deep, dreamless sleep. Each of these states opens different doors to the subconscious. The theta state, that slow, drowsy frequency that hovers at the edge of sleep, is considered by many researchers to be a particularly receptive window for subconscious access. In theta, the critical analytical mind relaxes its vigilance. The boundary between conscious and subconscious processing becomes more porous. Suggestions, image, and beliefs can move more easily from surface awareness down into deeper neural systems. This is why the moments just before you fall asleep and just after you wake are often described as unusually creative, emotionally open, and impressionable. The gatekeeper of rational thought has not yet fully arrived, or has only just stepped away. Hypnosis, which has been studied scientifically since the mid-20th century and is now recognized by professional psychological associations as a legitimate therapeutic tool, works primarily by inducing a theta-like state. Brain imaging studies have shown that hypnosis produces measurable shifts in activity in regions including the anterior cingulate cortex and prefrontal areas, structures involved in attention, executive control, and emotional processing. In this state, hypnotic suggestions are thought to engage more directly with subconscious patterns than ordinary waking instruction. It is not sleep, but it resembles the threshold state between waking and sleep, a state that many researchers believe is one of the most accessible routes to subconscious influence. The default mode network is a group of brain regions that become active when the mind is not focused on external tasks. During rest, daydreaming, self-reflection, and mind-wandering. For decades, scientists assumed this network was simply idling. Research has since revealed that it is doing something far more significant. The default mode network is involved in constructing the self, in maintaining the narrative of who you are, what you believe about yourself and how you relate to others. It is the system that runs the story of you, and because it is most active during rest and sleep, the quieter states of consciousness may be among the most influential for gently reshaping that story. Long-term meditation practice produces measurable structural changes in the brain. Neuroimaging studies have documented increases in gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate cortex among experienced meditators, regions associated with self-awareness, attention, regulation, and emotional flexibility. The volume of the hippocampus changes with chronic stress and with recovery from it. The connectivity between the amygdala and prefrontal cortex shifts with sustained therapeutic practice. These are not metaphors. They are measured, replicated differences in brain architecture. Every thought you think is a very small vote for the kind of brain you are gradually becoming. That process continues, quietly, even as you rest. Sleep is divided into cycles, each lasting approximately 90 minutes. Within each cycle, the brain moves through several stages, broadly divided into non-REM sleep and REM sleep. Non-REM sleep includes the lighter stages of transition, as well as the deeper stages of slow-wave sleep. REM sleep, rapid eye movement, sleep, is the stage most associated with dreaming. A full night of sleep contains 4 to 6 complete cycles. The proportion of deep slow-wave sleep is higher in the early part of the night. The proportion of REM sleep increases toward morning. This means that different kinds of memory consolidation happen at different points across the night. During slow-wave sleep, the deepest stage of non-REM sleep, the brain engages in memory consolidation, memories formed during the day, particularly those related to facts, skills, and experiences, are replayed and transferred from the hippocampus to longer-term cortical storage. Research has refined our understanding of this process considerably, showing that the brain does not simply record memories during sleep. It actively reorganizes them, strengthening the most significant elements and integrating new information into existing frameworks. Sleep does not just store what happened. It quietly decides what it means. Emotional memories receive special treatment during sleep. The amygdala is particularly active during REM sleep, and researchers believe this is when the emotional intensity of difficult experiences is gradually processed and, in many cases, softened. A theory known as sleep-dependent emotional processing suggests that REM sleep allows the brain to revisit emotional memories in a neurochemical environment with lower levels of the stress-related molecule norepinephrine, essentially allowing the brain to return to difficult material without the full physiological stress response. This may be one reason why things that feel overwhelming in the evening often feel more manageable in the morning. Sleep does not erase emotion. It softens the edges. Dreams are not random noise. Contemporary dream research has moved well beyond the idea that dreams are meaningless byproducts of neural activity. Leading researchers now propose that dreaming serves multiple functions: simulating possible futures, rehearsing emotional responses, processing loss, and integrating waking experience into the broader narrative of the self. During REM sleep, the brain is highly active. The prefrontal cortex, associated with critical reasoning, is relatively quieter. The limbic system, including the amygdala and hippocampus, is more active. This creates a state in which emotional associations, metaphorical thinking, and narrative construction operate with less rational constraint than they do during waking life. Sleep deprivation affects subconscious regulation in measurable ways. When we do not sleep enough, even by 1 or 2 hours over several nights, the amygdala becomes more reactive, and the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate it weakens. Habitual responses become stronger. Emotional memories become more intrusive. The ability to distinguish between genuine concerns and imagined ones declines. In other words, insufficient sleep does not just leave you tired. It gradually hands more influence to the older, more reactive parts of your brain, the very parts that subconscious reprogramming aims to gently update. Protecting sleep is not separate from the work of change. It is foundational to it. The glymphatic system is a waste clearance network in the brain that operates primarily during sleep. First described in research published in the early 2010s, the glymphatic system uses cerebrospinal fluid to flush metabolic waste products from the brain's extracellular space. This system is most active during slow-wave sleep and dramatically less active when we are awake. From the perspective of subconscious change, the glymphatic system is significant because neuroplasticity requires a clean operating environment. A brain burdened with accumulated metabolic debris is a brain less capable of forming new, clear neural pathways. Sleep cleans the space in which new patterns are born. Language is one of the primary tools through which the subconscious mind is shaped, for better and for worse. Research in cognitive neuroscience suggests that language does not merely describe emotional states, it actively shapes them. The words we habitually use to describe ourselves influence neural prediction systems in ways that researchers are still carefully mapping. Whether or not we call the inner voice instruction, the patterns it reinforces appear to be real. When the brain encounters a phrase, repeated in a calm, receptive state, it begins to treat that phrase as a reliable description of reality and adjusts its predictions accordingly. Repetition with receptivity is the mechanism. The inner voice is always practicing something. The concept of self-efficacy, one's belief in their own capacity to navigate a challenge or achieve a goal, is one of the most robust predictors of behavioral change identified in psychology. Introduced by Albert Bandura in the late 20th century and extensively validated since, self-efficacy shapes not only what a person attempts, but how they respond to setbacks, how long they persist, and how they ultimately perform. Crucially, self-efficacy beliefs are largely subconscious. They operate as background assumptions rather than conscious choices, and they can be updated through mastery experiences, through the experiences of others, and, according to emerging evidence, through sleep time exposure to affirming narratives and imagery. Visualization, the practice of forming detailed mental images of desired outcomes, engages the brain in ways that research has found difficult to distinguish from actual experience. Brain imaging studies have shown that imagining an action and performing it activate overlapping neural networks. Athletes who visualize their performance show measurable improvements in skill that cannot be fully explained by physical practice alone. The subconscious mind, it seems, cannot easily distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This is both a vulnerability Negative rumination is a form of negative visualization and an opportunity. The mind can be rehearsed toward outcomes it has not yet lived. These early facts have established the foundation of our journey tonight. The subconscious mind is a real, measurable, biologically grounded system. It shapes the majority of behavior, emotion, and belief. It is profoundly influenced by sleep, and it retains, throughout life, the capacity to change. The science no longer debates whether the subconscious can be influenced. The science now asks how, under what conditions, through what processes, with what tools, and at what depth. That is the question that will carry us through the rest of this night. And as your body grows heavier and your breath grows slower, the answer is already beginning to arrive. Let's pause here and notice your body as you breathe out slowly. Appreciate each tiny cell inside. Right now, your brain is already beginning to shift. Neurons slowing their fire. Hemispheres easing toward synchrony. Your nervous system is not waiting for permission to rest. It knows what to do. It has been doing this your entire life. Notice the weight of your limbs, the rise and fall of your chest, the subtle warmth behind your eyes. You are a complete and self-regulating system. And tonight, you are giving it what it needs most. Now we continue. The idea that we can influence the subconscious during sleep is not new. Cultures throughout history have used sleep as a portal to deeper states of knowing, from the dream incubation practices of ancient Greece to the sleep temples of ancient Egypt, where individuals sought healing and guidance through intentional sleep rituals. What has changed is that science has now begun to identify the mechanisms that may make these practices meaningful. The border between ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience is thinner than it once appeared. What our ancestors intuited about the sleeping mind, contemporary researchers are now mapping with precision instruments. Targeted memory reactivation is a technique developed in sleep research laboratories that demonstrates the brain's responsiveness to external cues during sleep. In these experiments, participants learn new information while a particular scent or sound is present. That cue is then replayed during slow-wave sleep. Studies consistently show that the memories associated with the cue are more strongly consolidated the following morning. The sleeping brain responds to environmental input. It processes and integrates what it hears and senses, even in the absence of conscious awareness. This finding has opened research directions, exploring whether the sleeping brain can be gently guided towards specific processing tasks. Sleep-based learning has been a subject of serious scientific investigation for decades. While early claims that you could learn a language simply by playing recordings while sleeping were largely unsupported, more nuanced findings have emerged. Research suggests that certain kinds of learning can be enhanced during sleep, particularly when the relevant neural circuits have already been activated during waking. The sleeping brain is most receptive to information that relates to experiences already seeded during the day. It does not learn from scratch during sleep, but it deepens, organizes, and strengthens what waking hours have prepared. The night works with what the day has offered. Emotional regulation is one of the primary functions of sleep, and one of the most significant pathways through which the subconscious can be gradually reshaped. Research published in recent years has extended our understanding of how REM sleep, in particular, contributes to emotional processing During REM sleep, the brain revisits emotionally significant memories, while simultaneously downregulating the neurochemicals associated with stress. Over successive nights of healthy sleep, even deeply held emotional memories tend to lose some of their acute intensity. Sleep does not eliminate difficult feelings, but it converts raw experience into something more integrated, more narrative, more bearable. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, follows a circadian rhythm tied closely to sleep. It reaches its lowest point during the early hours of sleep and begins to rise in the hours before waking, helping to prepare the body for the demands of the day. When sleep is consistently disrupted, baseline cortisol levels tend to elevate, which keeps the brain in a state of low-grade vigilance. From a subconscious reprogramming perspective, elevated cortisol is notable because it primes the brain toward threat detection and reinforcement of existing defensive patterns. Consistent, restful sleep creates the neurochemical conditions in which new, more open patterns can take root. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is a protein that supports the growth, maintenance, and survival of neurons and the formation of new synaptic connections. It is sometimes described as fertilizer for the brain. Sleep promotes BDNF production. Physical exercise also promotes it. Chronic stress suppresses it. BDNF is directly involved in neuroplasticity, the process by which subconscious patterns are gradually overwritten by new ones. When B, D, N, F levels are low, the brain's capacity for learning and change is reduced. When they are higher, the brain is in a more receptive state for forming new connections. Sleep, in this sense, is not just rest, it is preparation for growth. The relationship between breathing and brain state is one of the most accessible levers for subconscious influence. Slow, rhythmic breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest, digestion, and recovery. It directly reduces activity in the amygdala and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, shifting the brain from reactive to reflective mode. This shift changes which memories are activated, which patterns are reinforced, and which parts of the subconscious are most accessible. Breathing is not separate from consciousness. It is one of its most immediate regulators, and it is available to you right now. As your breath slows and deepens naturally, the insula, a region of the cerebral cortex folded deep within the lateral sulcus, plays a central role in interoception, which is the brain's awareness of the body's internal state. The insula monitors and integrates signals from the body, heartbeat, breath, visceral sensations, and uses them to inform emotional experience and decision-making. Research has found that individuals with greater interoceptive awareness tend to have more flexible subconscious responses and better emotional regulation. In other words, awareness of the body is not separate from awareness of the mind. The body is a continuous source of subconscious information. Learning to listen to it is part of learning to understand the deeper self. There is a growing body of clinical observation and early neuroscience research suggesting that some experiences are held not just in the brain, but in the patterns of the body. In posture, muscle tension, autonomique response. This area is still developing, and researchers approach it with care. The mechanisms are not yet fully mapped. but the evidence that the body participates in how experience is stored is difficult to set aside. Clinicians working with difficult experiences have long observed patterns of tension, sensation, and nervous system response that persist long after conscious memory has moved on. The body, it seems, keeps its own quiet record. Mindfulness meditation, the practice of deliberately directing attention to present moment experience without judgment, has been studied more extensively than almost any other mind-body intervention in the history of psychology. Meta-analyses across hundreds of clinical studies consistently find that sustained mindfulness practice reduces anxiety, reduces rumination, improves emotional regulation, and increases self-compassion. From a neurological standpoint, long-term meditators show measurable differences in gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, insula, and anterior cingulate cortex, regions associated with self-awareness, attention, regulation, and emotional flexibility. Meditation does not simply calm the mind. It gradually changes the architecture of subconscious processing. Neuroimaging research has identified a measurable phenomenon called the resting state default mode, a stable pattern of brain activity that persists even when a person is not actively engaged in any task. This resting state is highly individual. It reflects accumulated experience, learned emotional patterns, and habitual modes of self-reference. In essence, it is the subconscious signature of a person's psychological history. What is most significant from the perspective of change is that this resting state is not fixed. Therapeutic interventions, sustained meditation, positive sleep hygiene, and even certain forms of creative practice have all been shown to measurably shift the resting state default mode over time. The science of affirmations has moved well beyond self-help generalization. A body of research in self-affirmation theory, most associated with the work of Claude Steele and subsequent researchers, demonstrates that affirming one's core values under conditions of stress helps preserve prefrontal function, reduce defensive reactivity, and increase openness to new information. More recent neuroimaging studies have found that positive self-affirmations activate reward circuits in the brain, including the ventral striatum and medial prefrontal cortex. The effect is notable in individuals with lower self-esteem, suggesting that those who most need it are also most neurologically responsive to it. The brain rewards believing in itself. Theta waves, those slow, dreamy oscillations associated with the hypnagogic state at the edge of sleep, are also associated with insight and creative problem-solving. Research has documented a phenomenon sometimes called the hypnagogic jerk, the involuntary muscle twitch that many people experience just as they are falling asleep. It appears to coincide with the transition into theta. In this state, the brain is processing imagery, memory fragments, and emotional residue from the day. Some researchers suggest that this is also when newly formed ideas integrate with existing knowledge, a moment of quiet synthesis that occurs below conscious awareness. The edge of sleep may be one of the mind's most generative spaces. The nocebo effect, the lesser-known counterpart to the placebo effect, demonstrates the capacity of subconscious expectation to create physiologically real outcomes. Patients told that a harmless treatment would cause side effects frequently experience those side effects at measurable rates. Brain imaging confirmed that nocebo responses involve real neurological and physiological changes. This is both sobering and clarifying. If the subconscious can generate real physiological responses from expectation alone, then the inversa, that it can generate real change from different expectations, is not wishful thinking. It is the same mechanism, directed differently. The direction is what changes everything. We are now at the midpoint of the first half of our journey. The evidence has accumulated steadily. The subconscious mind is biologically real, neurologically measurable, and profoundly connected to sleep. The brain during sleep is not dormant. It is reorganizing, consolidating, and quietly tending the story of the self. The question of whether you can influence your subconscious during sleep is no longer whether. It is how intentionally you approach the hours between waking and deep rest. The tools exist, the science supports them, and the most accessible one, available to you tonight, is already in progress. You are already doing it, simply by being here, in the quiet dark, letting go. Take a slow breath. Notice how your body feels a little heavier now, as if the mind has quietly begun releasing what it was holding. We're exploring the sleeping mind together. You and I, and every quiet soul listening in the dark tonight. There is no rush, no destination, just the gentle pull of curiosity, carrying us softly forward. Let's continue. Cognitive reframing. The practice of consciously changing the interpretation of an experience is one of the most studied techniques in behavioral psychology. Originally formalized within cognitive behavioral therapy, reframing works by introducing new neural pathways that compete with and gradually weaken older, more automatic interpretive patterns. When practiced consistently, reframing shifts not only conscious thought, but subconscious emotional response. The brain begins to assign new emotional weight to previously charged experiences. What once triggered an automatic surge of unease begins, over time, to trigger something more neutral. The subconscious is not erased. It is offered a better story, repeated until the new pathway becomes the familiar one. The brain's reward system, centered on the nucleus accumbens and mediated by dopamine, plays a significant role in whether new patterns take hold. Dopamine does not simply register pleasure, it signals prediction and anticipation. When the brain learns that a behavior reliably precedes a rewarding outcome, dopamine is released in anticipation of that reward, reinforcing the behavior before the reward even arrives. This mechanism underlies habit formation, and it also underlies subconscious change. Pairing new beliefs or behaviors with genuine positive emotional states accelerates neural encoding. The subconscious learns more readily when it is rewarded. Feeling genuinely good about a new pattern is not optional. It is neurologically part of the process. There is a measurable physiological state associated with feelings of awe, gratitude, and deep belonging, sometimes referred to in psychophysiology as coherence. In this state, the rhythm of the heart becomes more regular. Breathing synchronizes with cardiac cycles, and the autonomic nervous system shifts toward parasympathetic dominance. Research has found that this state is associated with improved cognitive flexibility, reduced inflammatory markers, and enhanced receptivity to new information. Deliberately cultivating feelings of gratitude or appreciation before sleep may do more than improve mood. It may prime the subconscious for the kind of open, integrative processing that consolidates new, more peaceful patterns during the night. Sleep inertia. The grogginess that many people experience in the minutes after waking reflects a period when subconscious processes have not yet fully handed control back to conscious awareness. Interestingly, research has found that this transitional state, like the hypnagogic state before sleep, is associated with elevated theta activity and unusual permeability between conscious and subconscious processing. Some researchers suggest that the first few minutes after waking, before the analytical mind fully reasserts itself, represent another window of subconscious accessibility. What you place in your awareness in those first quiet moments may carry more subconscious weight than what you encounter later in the day. One of the more thought-provoking findings in medical research involves sham surgical procedures, in which patients received either real knee surgery or an identical feeling procedure without the actual intervention. In one well-known study, both groups reported comparable improvements in pain and function in the period following the procedure. Researchers continue to explore the mechanisms behind this, but what the findings suggest, that belief, expectation, and the subconscious sense of having been cared for can produce real physiological change, remains a genuinely compelling observation. The subconscious does not only shape thought and behavior, it reaches into the biology of the body itself. Chronic stress creates a phenomenon that neuroscientists call allostatic load, the cumulative wear on the brain and body produced by sustained exposure to stress hormones. High allostatic load is associated with gradual changes in hippocampal volume, reduced prefrontal function, and a more reactive stress response. Exactly the pattern that makes new, softer patterns harder to establish. The inverse is also true. Consistent, restorative sleep, along with practices that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, gradually reduces allostatic load and allows the brain to return to a more plastic, more open state. Recovery is not only emotional, it is structural. The brain, given the right conditions, rebuilds itself. Research in psychoneuroimmunology, the study of interactions between psychological processes, the nervous system, and the immune system, has demonstrated that subconscious emotional states directly influence immune function. Persistent patterns of worry, self-criticism, and emotional suppression are associated with elevated inflammatory markers that increase susceptibility to illness. Positive effect, including states of contentment, connectedness, and self-acceptance, is associated with measurably healthier immune profiles. The subconscious does not just shape thought and behavior, it shapes the cellular environment in which the entire body operates. What we quietly believe about ourselves echoes outward into the biology of every system we carry. The relationship between the gut and the brain has been one of the more unexpected frontiers in neuroscience over the past decade. The enteric nervous system, the network of neurons lining the gastrointestinal tract, contains hundreds of millions of nerve cells and communicates bidirectionally with the brain via the vagus nerve. Emerging research suggests that the gut microbiome influences mood, anxiety, and cognitive function through this pathway. From a subconscious perspective, this means that the biological substrate of psychological patterns extends beyond the brain. The conditions that support gut health, including consistent sleep, reduced stress, and adequate rest, appear to support the broader landscape of the mind as well. Heart rate variability. The natural variation in the time between heartbeats is a measure of the nervous system's flexibility and resilience. Higher heart rate variability is associated with emotional regulation, cognitive flexibility, and effective response to stress. Lower variability is associated with anxiety and reduced capacity for change. Sleep is one of the most reliable ways to support heart rate variability. During slow-wave sleep in particular, the autonomic nervous system shifts toward parasympathetic dominance, and the heart's rhythm becomes more variable in the healthy, flexible sense. Every night of restful sleep is a gentle recalibration of the biological systems that support psychological openness. We are at the halfway point of our journey, and the answer to the question we began with is already forming quietly in the space between these words. Yes, the subconscious mind can be gently changed. Yes, sleep is one of its most profound and accessible agents of change. The science now tells us that every night of rest is not a pause from life. It is one of life's most active and generative hours. Your brain is reorganizing right now. As your eyes grow heavier, as your breath falls into its own slow rhythm, the work of becoming is not separate from the work of resting. They are, in the deepest sense, the same thing. Imagine that every memory you have is not a fixed recording. It is a living thing, gently tended each time you return to it. Tonight, your sleeping mind will care for those memories, softening what needs softening, strengthening what needs strength. You don't need to direct it. You don't need to remember any of this. The process is already underway in the deep and patient architecture of your own biology. This moment, right now, is part of a rewriting that has been happening your entire life. And we continue drifting. The relationship between sleep and self-concept, how we see ourselves, is an area of growing research interest. Studies have found that individuals who consistently achieve adequate, high-quality sleep report more stable and positive self-perceptions over time. One possibility is that restorative sleep reliably produces the neurochemical conditions, including appropriate dopamine and serotonin function, that allow the default mode network to generate a more integrated, more compassionate self-narrative. A well-rested brain is more likely to tell itself a gentler story, and that story, repeated night after night, becomes the background voice of the waking self. Lucid dreaming, the state of being aware that one is dreaming while the dream continues, offers a window into the subconscious in action. Individuals who practice lucid dreaming describe interacting directly with the imagery, emotions, and narratives generated by the subconscious mind. Research using brain imaging during verified lucid dream states has found increased activation in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a region normally quieter during REM sleep. Some researchers are exploring whether this state could be used therapeutically for processing recurring emotional themes, rehearsing new responses, and gently revising the subconscious narratives that shape waking behavior. Imagery rehearsal therapy is a clinically validated treatment for recurring distressing dreams, particularly in individuals with post-traumatic stress. In this approach, patients recall a troubling dream, rewrite its ending while awake, and then rehearse the new version mentally before sleep. Clinical trials have shown measurable reductions in distressing dream frequency and emotional intensity following this intervention. The mechanism appears to involve the deliberate introduction of new subconscious material through repetition and visualization during waking that gradually offers the sleeping brain a different script. The sleeping mind, it seems, can be guided by what we gently prepare for it. The concept of incubation, allowing a problem to rest in the subconscious while conscious attention is directed elsewhere, is well supported in the creativity literature. Studies have found that taking a break from a difficult problem, particularly if that break includes sleep, measurably improves the likelihood of finding a creative solution. The subconscious continues to process the problem in the absence of conscious effort. Connections form between apparently unrelated pieces of information. When conscious attention returns, the solution is often already waiting. The subconscious completes what the conscious mind began in the unhurried space that sleep provides. The process of extinction, the gradual weakening of a conditioned emotional response, is sleep-dependent. Research has shown that individuals who sleep after extinction training show significantly better retention of the new, calmer association the following day, compared to those who remained awake. Without sleep, the old response is more likely to return. With sleep, the new association is more durably encoded. From a therapeutic perspective, this suggests that sleep following any kind of psychological work, therapy, reflection, or even a meaningful conversation may significantly amplify its lasting impact. The night after the insight may matter as much as the insight itself. Research on mirror neuron systems, first identified in primates and suspected to operate in some form in humans, suggests that the brain does not only register what we do, it resonates with what we observe. The social world, in this view, may be a continuous and largely subconscious shaping force. The people we spend time with, the stories we consume, the voices we listen to regularly, all leave some kind of impression in neural patterns over time. This is not weakness. It is the brain's efficient strategy for learning, and it means that choosing our inputs carefully, including what we listen to as we fall asleep, is a form of subconscious self-care. Some of the most persistent subconscious patterns are those formed during times of great difficulty. The nervous system encodes those experiences as predictions, not to punish, but to protect. What was once learned as protection can, with patience and the right conditions, be gently updated. Current neuroscience understands these patterns not as fixed damage, but as learned predictions that the brain continues to revise when given evidence of safety. Effective therapeutic approaches work by introducing safety signals that gradually update those subconscious predictions. Recovery is possible. The brain was designed for it. The concept of neurogenesis, the generation of new neurons in the adult brain, was once considered impossible. Research over the past 3 decades has established that new neurons are produced in the hippocampus throughout adult life, particularly in the dentate gyrus region. Neurogenesis is promoted by physical exercise, enriched environments, and restorative sleep. It is suppressed by chronic stress and insufficient sleep. New neurons in the hippocampus are particularly associated with the ability to form new memories and to distinguish between similar experiences, an ability that is central to updating old subconscious patterns. rather than simply applying them to every new situation. Sleep grows the brain's capacity for change. The timing of what we bring to mind before sleep may influence what the subconscious processes during the night. Research in targeted memory reactivation has demonstrated that cues present during the transition into sleep can direct the brain towards specific content during subsequent slow-wave sleep. What we read, reflect upon, or gently hold in the pre-sleep window may prime the subconscious for particular processing tasks during the hours ahead. This is not the same as sleep learning. It is seeding. Offering the sleeping brain material, it will tend in the ways it already knows how to tend. The pre-sleep window is, in a quiet way, a form of preparation. Gratitude practices have been studied extensively in positive psychology, and their neurological basis is increasingly understood. Expressing gratitude activates the medial prefrontal cortex and the brain's reward circuitry. Repeated gratitude practice increases the connectivity of regions associated with positive affect and social connection. Studies tracking participants over periods of weeks have found that regular gratitude practice measurably shifts baseline emotional tone. The default affective state that exists between deliberate emotional experiences, that baseline is largely subconscious, and it can be gradually, durably elevated through consistent, sincere attention to what is already present and good. One proposed framework in autonomic neuroscience, associated with Stephen Porges, describes the role of the vagus nerve in regulating states of social openness, emotional safety, and physiological calm. According to this view, the nervous system continuously and largely subconsciously reads the environment for signals of safety or concern. Whether or not every detail of this framework is confirmed, its core observation resonates with clinical experience. When the body feels genuinely safe, the mind opens, creating conditions of warmth, stillness, and predictability around sleep. A consistent environment, familiar sounds, a gentle routine, directly supports the subconscious shift toward openness and rest. Compassion-focused therapy, developed in the early 2000s and since validated across numerous clinical trials, proposes that many psychological difficulties arise from an overactive threat system that generates persistent self-criticism. The therapy uses practices specifically designed to activate the brain's soothing and affiliation systems, including imagery of warmth and safety, slow breathing, and the cultivation of a compassionate inner voice. Neuroimaging studies have found that these practices reduce reactivity in stress-related regions and increase activity in regions associated with self-regulation and positive affect. The subconscious responds to the tone in which we speak to ourselves. Kindness, practiced with patience, eventually becomes the brain's default. The relationship between identity and habit is one of the most practically significant insights in behavioral science. Research in habit formation has found that habits are most durably changed, not when people focus on the behavior alone, but when they also revise the underlying identity belief, the subconscious story of who they are. The identity statement primes the subconscious to filter experience through a different lens, generating small behavioral choices that gradually align with the declared self-concept. Identity change, in this sense, is not the outcome of changed behavior. It is the precondition. The story comes first. The life follows, slowly and honestly. Behind it, sleep spindles, brief bursts of oscillatory neural activity occurring during stage 2 non-REM sleep are among the brain's most sophisticated memory consolidation tools. They appear to coordinate the transfer of information between the hippocampus and the cortex, integrating new material with existing knowledge. Research has found that individuals with higher sleep spindle density show greater improvements in memory performance after sleep. Sleep spindle activity is influenced by sleep quality and duration. Every night of uninterrupted, a restful sleep increases the likelihood of robust spindle activity, and therefore more thorough, more deep integration of the day's experiences into the longer architecture of the self. Waking theta activity. Slow brain waves in the 4 to 8 Hz range occurring during alert wakefulness has been associated with successful memory encoding. Research has found that information encountered during high theta states is more likely to be durably remembered. States that produce waking theta include deep relaxation, light meditation, creative engagement, and the serene concentration that can arise during long, peaceful experiences such as listening to soft music or slow narration. The state you are approaching right now, the one where thought begins to soften and awareness turns inward, may be one of the most neurologically receptive you will enter today. Whatever the mind holds in this moment carries weight. The relationship between positive emotion and cognitive breadth is well established in psychology. Research has demonstrated that positive emotional states expand the scope of attention and thinking, allowing the mind to notice more, connect more, and consider more possibilities. This asymmetry has direct implications for subconscious change, a mind in a state of ease, warmth, and safety is more open to new information, more capable of gently revising old patterns, and more likely to integrate novel perspectives. The emotional tone you carry into sleep shapes what the sleeping mind has to work with through the night. Allow the tone of this moment, quiet, unhurried, safe, to be what you carry in. Habit loops. The neural structure of automatic behavior consists of a cue that triggers a routine that constitutes the behavior itself, and a reward that reinforces it. Research has consistently found that the most efficient way to change an unwanted habit is not to eliminate the routine entirely, but to replace it with a different routine while preserving the original cue reward structure. The subconscious is attached to the reward, not the specific behavior. Offering it the same reward through a different route is far more effective than attempting to simply deny it what it has learned to expect. Change works with the subconscious, not against it. The cerebellum, long associated primarily with motor coordination, is now understood to play a broader role in cognitive and emotional function than previously recognized. Research over the past decade has found cerebellar involvement in language, attention, working memory, and emotional regulation. The cerebellum is thought to be involved in the automatization of complex tasks, the process by which consciously effortful activities become subconscious and automatic. As new thoughts and behaviors are practiced and internalized, the cerebellum plays a role in moving them from deliberate to habitual. What is practiced deliberately today has the genuine possibility of becoming automatic tomorrow. Narrative identity. The story we tell about our own life is increasingly understood by researchers as a form of subconscious self-shaping. The coherence, tone, and meaning we assign to our personal history shape how we interpret new experiences and respond to challenges. Research has found that individuals who narrate their difficulties as growth experiences, who find meaning in adversity without minimizing it, show measurably better psychological resilience and health outcomes over time. The story is not separate from the self. The story creates the self day by day, one quiet interpretation at a time. Research on heart-brain communication has found that when the heart's rhythm is smooth and regular, the brain tends to enter a state of greater order and receptivity. Techniques that promote this synchronized state, including slow rhythmic breathing and gentle positive emotional focus, produce measurable improvements in cognitive performance, emotional regulation, and stress resilience. These effects appear within minutes and accumulate with consistent practice. The heart sends a remarkable volume of neural signals to the brain. This means that the emotional state carried in the body, not just the head, shapes subconscious processing. Calming the heart is, in a very real sense, calming the mind. The phenomenon of state-dependent memory, in which information learned in a particular physiological state is most easily retrieved in that same state, has implications for subconscious change. Material introduced during relaxed, receptive, low arousal states may be most accessible in similar states. This is one reason why practices such as pre-sleep visualization, guided relaxation, and gentle repetition are thought to be particularly effective for subconscious work. The subconscious learns in context, and the context closest to sleep may be the one in which the deepest patterns are most accessible, most malleable, and most ready to receive the impression of something new. Psychologists have identified a tendency called the negativity bias, the brain's inclination to weight difficult experiences more heavily than equivalent positive ones. This tendency is neurologically grounded. Negative experiences are processed more thoroughly, remembered more vividly, and integrated more rapidly than positive ones. The pattern exists for reasons rooted in survival, but in the modern context, it can generate a subconscious disproportionately shaped by threat and loss. Counteracting it requires not just reducing negative input, but actively dwelling in positive experience, staying with it long enough for it to fully encode, letting the good land, as some researchers describe it, compassionate self-talk. Speaking to oneself with the same warmth and understanding one might offer a close friend, has been studied as a specific therapeutic practice and found to produce measurable changes in psychological well-being and physiological stress responses. Unlike self-criticism, which activates the threat system and elevates cortisol, self-compassion activates the soothing system, reduces cortisol, and increases feelings of safety and belonging. Over time, the voice that speaks inside the mind becomes a powerful environmental cue for the subconscious, triggering either reactivity or safety depending on its tone. The inner voice is always shaping something, gently. Over time, it can be shaped in return. Entrainment, the synchronization of biological rhythms to external rhythmic signals, is a well-established phenomenon in neuroscience. The brain's electrical activity can be influenced by rhythmic auditory stimuli through a process called frequency-following response. Slow-paced audio, including certain kinds of ambient music, rhythmic narration, and sound patterns in the theta and delta frequency ranges has been found in several studies to encourage corresponding shifts in brainwave frequency. While the clinical applications remain an active area of investigation, the underlying mechanism is sound. What we hear as we fall asleep becomes part of the neurological landscape of the night. We are approaching the final quarter of our journey, and the answer is clear. The subconscious mind is not a locked vault. It is a living system, responsive to experience, deeply influenced by sleep, and genuinely capable of change across a lifetime. The science no longer speaks of subconscious influence as a possibility. It speaks of it as an ongoing biological reality, one that happens every night, in every sleeping brain. What varies is only the direction. Whether that change deepens old patterns or gently, patiently introduces new ones depends, in part, on the conditions we create around our sleep, and you are creating them right now, in this quiet, in this rest. Almost done. Allow yourself to settle even deeper now. Sleep does not arrive through effort. It arrives through release. Your body has always known the way. Every cell in you has rested before. Every system knows its path to stillness. There is nothing left to tend tonight. This is the moment where trying becomes trusting. We'll continue with the final facts. The brain during sleep is not unconscious. It is differently conscious. Neural activity during slow-wave sleep shows patterns of coordination across regions that are rarely synchronized during waking. Something is being organized in the deep dark of the night. Something is being tended. The sleeping mind is not absent. It has simply gone somewhere. The waking mind cannot easily follow. And in that somewhere, the quiet work of becoming continues. Every belief you hold about yourself was learned. None of it arrived at birth. The subconscious absorbed its contents from experience, from early relationships, repeated observations, words heard too many times in too small a room. What was learned can be gently unlearned, not all at once, slowly. The way a knot loosens when you stop pulling against it, patiently, one quiet night at a time. There is a kind of courage in allowing the mind to change. The subconscious resists new patterns at first, not because it is broken, but because it was designed to protect what is familiar. That resistance is not the enemy. It is the guardian at the gate. And like all guardians, it softens when it recognizes that what is coming means no harm. It softens, perhaps, in moments exactly like this one. The hippocampus works while you sleep. Right now, if you have been resting long enough, it is replaying fragments of today. Image, feelings, half-formed thoughts, and quietly deciding which ones belong in the longer story of your life. It is an editor, patient and unhurried. It does not judge what it finds. It simply tends to it and files it where it belongs. What you believe about your capacity to change influences your actual capacity to change. Research in growth mindset, developed by Carol Dweck and extensively replicated, has found that individuals who hold the belief that their qualities are malleable show greater persistence, greater learning, and greater achievement over time. The belief itself is a subconscious variable, and it responds to evidence, to experience, and to the quiet, consistent voice that speaks in the background of the mind, night after night, telling you what is possible, There is nothing to force tonight. The subconscious does not respond well to force. It responds to repetition, to calm, to the patient presence of a new idea, offered gently, night after night, until the new pathway becomes the familiar one. You are planting something. The harvest is not tonight. The harvest is in the accumulation of nights, like this one, quiet, unhurried, and kind. Prospective memory, the ability to remember to do something in the future, is deeply dependent on sleep. Research has found that intentions formed before sleep are more reliably encoded and recalled the following day than those formed at other times. The sleeping brain does not only tend to the past, it also prepares the ground for tomorrow. Every night of rest is, in a quiet way, an act of becoming more capable of the day ahead, not only remembering what has passed, but carrying forward what matters most. The body heals during sleep. Growth hormone, essential for tissue repair, immune function, and cellular maintenance, is released primarily during slow-wave sleep. The immune system upregulates specific functions during the overnight hours. The physical and the psychological are not separate. The healing of the body and the healing of the mind happen together. In the same dark hours, through overlapping biological pathways, there is no clear line between what rest does for the body and what it does for the self. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence. Research consistently distinguishes the two. Self-compassion involves acknowledging difficulty clearly, holding it with warmth rather than judgment, and recognizing that difficulty is part of shared human experience. Self-indulgence avoids difficulty altogether. The subconscious knows the difference. Genuine self-compassion signals safety, and safety, in the neurological environment of the sleeping brain, is the ground in which the deepest and most durable change takes root. The language of the subconscious is not verbal. It speaks in images, in sensations, in emotional tones, in the felt quality of a moment. This is why visualization reaches more deeply than instruction. This is why music changes mood more immediately than reasoning. This is why the gentle imagery of a peaceful night, the slow narration, the soft ambient sound, reaches somewhere that a rational argument cannot. The subconscious responds to what it feels is true, not only what it is told. And tonight, it feels something quiet and safe and real. There is a kind of intelligence that only becomes available in stillness. Researchers describe it in different ways: insight, integration, creative synthesis. It does not arise from effort. It arises from the release of effort. The problems that resist daytime solving often soften in the quiet of the night, not because sleep ignores them, but because sleep holds them differently, with less urgency, more space, and in that space, something new sometimes finds its way through. The subconscious holds more of you than you are currently aware of. Not just the patterns that feel difficult, but capacities, creativity that has not yet been expressed, resilience that has not yet been called upon, warmth that circumstances have temporarily covered over. Sleep does not only surface the complicated things, it also returns to you the parts of yourself that the noise of waking life has temporarily set aside. Research in sleep chronobiology has found that sleep aligned with the body's natural circadian rhythm produces significantly better memory consolidation. emotional regulation, and cognitive performance than sleep taken at misaligned times. The body has a preferred hour for rest. Honoring it is not passive. It is one of the most effective forms of self-support available. The brain that sleeps when its biology asks it to sleep arrives at the following day more capable of being who it intends to be. The moments just before deep sleep, when awareness hovers between the world and the dream, have been described by poets and scientists alike as a threshold. The analytical mind has relaxed its grip. The subconscious is fully present. Whatever gentle thought, whatever warm image, whatever quiet permission you hold at that threshold, the sleeping mind will carry forward into the night. You are approaching that threshold now. Simply notice what you are bringing with you. So, can you really influence your subconscious mind while you sleep? The answer is yes. Though the word reprogram deserves a gentler translation, what happens during sleep is not a mechanical override. It is something more like a garden tended in the dark, the seeds planted during waking hours. Through intention, repetition, and emotional resonance, are watered during sleep, integrated, and slowly grown into the landscape of the self. You cannot force the process, but you can prepare the soil. And rest, it turns out, is the richest soil of all. Every thought you repeated today has taken one small step toward becoming automatic. Every kind thing you said to yourself left a trace. Every moment of calm you inhabited taught the nervous system that calm is possible. The subconscious is not changed in a single night, but it is changed incrementally by every night, every quiet hour in which the brain is given good conditions and gently pointed towards something better. The sleeping brain does not easily distinguish between what happened and what was vividly imagined. Both are processed, consolidated, integrated. It means that the inner life you cultivate, the images you hold, the futures you allow yourself to picture, the person you practice being in your mind, carries real neurological weight. The imagination is a biological force. What you gently dream of becoming, you are already practicing. There is a quality of attention, unsoft, non-grasping, quietly aware, that researchers in contemplative neuroscience have found to be associated with insight and integration. It is not the focused attention of deliberate work. It is closer to a peripheral awareness that notices without trying to notice. This quality is natural in the hypnagogic state. It is what the mind does when it is allowed to simply be present, without agenda. You may recognize it as the feeling you are approaching right now. Quiet, open, unhurried, the mind's most receptive mode. The brain during slow-wave sleep is remarkably quiet on the surface and remarkably active underneath. The default mode network continues operating. The hippocampus continues its quiet editing. The glymphatic system moves through the spaces between neurons, clearing what needs clearing. And the neural pathways that have been most recently used are quietly replayed, strengthened, and woven more deeply into the fabric of who you are. Tonight, among the most recently used pathways are these words, this voice, this quiet. They are already being tended. The last fact of our journey is not a fact at all. It is a permission. You have traveled far enough. You have understood what needed understanding. The subconscious is already at work, doing what it knows how to do, guided by the biology of 100 million years of sleep. There is nothing to hold on to. There is nothing to remember. The work is already underway. The only thing left is to allow the rest to arrive, which it will, in its own time, in the soft dark that is already waiting for you. And so, our quiet journey through the subconscious mind draws gently to a close. We began with the finding that somewhere between 90 and 95% of mental life moves below the threshold of awareness, and we discovered, along the way, that this is not a limitation. It is the brain's most efficient gift. We wandered through the sleeping brain's editors and architects, the hippocampus replaying the day, the amygdala softening its old responses, the default mode network quietly tending the story of the self, and we returned, again and again, to the same quiet place. That rest is not separate from becoming. That sleep is not a pause from the work of being human. It may be some of the most meaningful work of all. The subconscious mind reminds us that most of what makes us who we are happens in silence, below the surface. In the patient interior of the brain, it reveals a resilience we did not know we carried, and an openness that the waking world sometimes makes it difficult to feel. Without the deep and tending night, none of the day's learning fully lands. By pausing to notice, to soften, to rest, to allow, we give the mind what it has quietly been asking for. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about unity, of every thought you have ever had, every feeling, every memory, every quiet hope that moved through you and left a trace in the structure of your brain. None of it was wasted. All of it was becoming. The subconscious mind does not hold judgment. It holds pattern, and patterns can change. Let your entire being dissolve into that possibility now, into the open, unheld space of deep sleep, where nothing is required of you, where the mind continues its gentle work without you, where the self is tenderly, quietly rebuilt. Prepare for deep sleep, no boundaries left, only peace. For anyone still softly awake, a quiet like or subscribe reaches other restless souls who are searching for exactly this. It might be exactly what another tired mind needs to finally let go and drift. One gentle tap, one peaceful night at a time. But there is no need to do anything now, nothing at all. The subconscious is still working, will continue working long after this voice has faded. You can allow these thoughts of the sleeping mind to dissolve now, like the last image of a dream, just before waking, present for a moment, then softly returning to everything, leaving only the still, unheld calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if the gentle and patient weight of a mind that no longer needs to effort is settling through you, down through your shoulders, your hands, your legs, and is simply holding you. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way a thought becomes a dream, not by force, not by rushing, but by arrival into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting, ready to carry you a little further into the night. But if they are closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, the brain will still be tending, the subconscious will still be weaving, but tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul. And remember, the mind that rests well grows well. Good night.